right, make it all ship shape, ready to move.
Yeah, let's take this one off. Might fall, and then we have to disconnect shore power, and we're good to go. Welcome back. My name is Aladino, and together with my wife Maya, we are refitting a Cape George Cutter 36.
How do you feel about the boat getting moved?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard about it for months.
Yeah.
So it's actually happening.
Yeah.
We're not on this limbo mode, at least we think, because it's already been past the scheduled time. Nobody's here.
To give you a really quick recap, we have been working on this boat in Canada for approaching a year now, and several years before that we were in the States. We built this shed over the boat, which we've been doing all of the work in, but a little while ago the yard came to us, they wanted to move the boat, they wanted the shed to come down, and fortunately that works okay in our timeline because we're also ready for the shed to come down. So last episode, shed came down, now we're moving the boat to our new spot. And we've requested a spot that's going to be easy to bring a crane in and out of so that we can put the mast up and we can put the engine in the coming weeks. It is always a little nerve-wracking to watch the boat get lifted up, especially considering the history of boats that we've owned. Some of you might know our first boat over in Europe, before Aladino became the owner of it, she fell from a crane and was totaled. Fell 20 feet onto concrete, actually. It was pretty high. And that became our boat after Aladino spent 4 years rebuilding the hull and restoring everything. So although things can be fixed, it is always just a little nerve-wracking watching something you've put so much work into getting lifted up on these slings. How are you, Shatsi?
Good. Don't have to do anything.
I know, it's true.
I can just watch for once.
It's really windy now. All right, we're here in the new spot. It all went well, even though it's always a little nerve-wracking to watch your precious creation all wrapped up in the belly of this large machine slowly lumbering its way down the boatyard. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. We arrived safe and sound without a scratch. So I'm very content. The sun has come out, and to celebrate the new spot, I've got some friends coming over this evening. Musician friends, the best kind. Met some really wonderful people who started playing some music, and I'm excited to introduce you guys to them as well. So yeah, I've actually started playing in a little trio. We're not quite ready to introduce ourselves, but it's been so much joy, just like such a wonderful thing to get to use that part of my brain again. And tonight, I'm going to play a tune that I wrote a long time ago. It's called The Transient Party Magician, which I'm considering changing because it's quite a mouthful, but it's just a little fiddle tune. And I'll be joined by Daniel Sinclair, one of the guys in my new trio. He's only got one song out on Spotify at the moment, but it's worth listening to if you're curious. Daniel Sinclair, and his song is Bonnie and Clyde. And just a little foreshadowing, the other lovely member of my trio, who you won't meet tonight, but you will meet, is Atlin Morgan. She's definitely worth a listen on Spotify as well. But for now, we're going to introduce our new spot to its new occupants and play a little fiddle tune. Here's The Transient Party Magician, name subject to change. This spot is going to be kind of our final one before we hit the water. It's going to allow us to put up the mast, put in the engine, and actually put on the bowsprit, because that's something else that the shed prevented us from doing. So a lot of very necessary and big items to come in the following episodes. But because it feels like perhaps the start of a new chapter, I thought it's also maybe a good time to talk a bit about the future, to talk a bit about how the refit is going, and what our plans are, fill you in a bit. So why don't you join me, Aladino, and we'll talk a bit about our plans. So this refit has taken longer than we thought it would. We want to do a really good job. I think there have been several estimates that have been off base, to be totally frank. And we do feel a certain degree of pressure, and this is partly self-imposed, but I think there's a bit of reality of we want to showcase a really good end result, not only for us, but we have an audience, and that's really exciting, and it comes with this additional feeling of responsibility that we feel. So all that to say, the boat has taken longer than we anticipated. When we came to Canada this fall and we began working on the boat again, we were working with the assumption that we would launch this summer, move on board, and let the adventures begin.
Pretty much.
And now that we're really close to summer, we're still really far from the point we want this boat to be at before we can call it like our home. Now, there are two really different camps, and you'll see these camps represented in a nearly 50-50 split in our comments. There's the camp that says, just go, put the boat in the water, figure it out on the way, and have some adventures while you're doing it. There's another camp that says, as soon as the boat goes in the water and you move on board, doing the work becomes 10 times more difficult. So finish the boat here where you've got a great working setup before you launch.
Totally, yeah. And those things are personal too. It's not that there is an answer.
Yeah.
But knowing ourselves and our character, I think that we lean more towards the latter, where indeed, after having put in a lot of time, we want something cozy and homely and functional.
Yeah. But to sort of add to the difficulty of the choice we're faced with here is the fact that we're over time and we want to move on with life.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So that led us to a bit of a mix of both. We are trying to launch this summer, but it is going to be for a simple sea trial of something about 2 months without a finished boat, just to test the priority things, and then come back to the boatyard and finish the boat, finish the details, make it comfortable, make it livable, and all of the extras. So that's the plan moving forward.
So if I could just give like a summary of a timeline, we're thinking, 2 months of the summer on a very bare bones boat that barely has an electrical system and just the bare minimum, mast, engine, bowsprit, those big things.
Yeah.
And then coming back to this boatyard, keeping the same setup that we have, and finishing the refit to a much higher standard this winter. And that's including, the whole electrical system, having a properly installed and super functional plumbing system, having things like the bulkhead mounted heater, all these extras that we're definitely not going to get to before the summer.
Exactly.
Oh, not to mention navigation systems, like all of that.
Most things electrical related. Fridge, lights, all those things.
Yeah.
Those are getting off the priority list right now because we really like the idea of splashing the boat and getting a sea trial. We can see how she floats, how she moves, maneuvers, how she's under power. Having the mast up will allow us to test the old sails, because first we thought let's get new sails, and we're still moving forward with that, but we can learn from the old sails first, so we can put those up, see the cuts, make design changes, learning from the old ones. Like one example is we were pretty convinced that we want a strong track from Tides Marine. That's a track that you put up the mainsail groove, and that is so the mainsail can come down and go up really easy with less friction. So we thought let's put one of those in, but we don't know how our track works right now. So we get to test the old. Maybe there is no necessity for an extra new track. The sea trial will allow us to test these things, test the sails, test extra things that we want. One other thing is the windlass. We had an electric windlass and we really loved it, but
on our first boat, never on this
on
one.
our first boat.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're in the electric windlass camp unless we have tried the manual one thoroughly. So right now the boat came with a manual one. For the sea trial it will be perfect because we don't have an electrical system, so manual is perfect for this scenario, and we get to learn how much we like it. And if we don't, then that's something we can address when we're back.
Yeah. And I think it's needed
at
this point. I think we have been working so long towards this goal which keeps not arriving. And we need to feel a glimmer of that for this to keep having momentum.
That's the main reason, splashing this summer it's not about going far, it's about floating as close as possible, even just set anchor and look at the boatyard. But yeah, just go putt to some of the islands close by, because the area here is really beautiful. That's where both of us, we fell in love with sailing. So just doing a little bit of simple adventuring, even if it is just eating some sandwiches, see it as a camping holiday. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so I think the name of the game is just to enjoy life, to enjoy the process, to start to feel a little bit of the fruits of our labors, and to change up, I think, some of the monotony of the day-to-day.
Because it would be pretty sad if winter starts ticking in again, and we've worked here all summer as well. Then it's really, I don't know how motivated I would be that coming winter and fall. So this seems like a good way.
Yeah. Now, of course, I don't edit these videos in real time. I really would not be able to keep up with that. So we do have real-time updates available on Patreon if you're really curious. But I know when it comes to things like seasons, not being in real time can lead to some confusion. But I can't really do it any other way. I'm sorry. So yeah, when I say summer, like in terms of the video time, it's still going to be a few months down the road. But we're going to do our best to adhere to this deadline and really keep our focus on what is important.
Totally, yeah. So it's primarily the engine, getting it in, and then of course there's many systems surrounding the working to make sure that an engine works.
There's also bureaucratic things we have to be aware of, and
That's true.
I don't like being the paperwork police, but sometimes I have to. We obviously want to have hull insurance on this boat before we go in the water. Right now it's marina premise insurance, so basically it only insures us when we're here, physically present in this harbor, which obviously works for now, but wouldn't work when we want to sail away.
No, totally.
And in order to get that, we need to have a surveyor come do a survey of the boat, but we can't have a surveyor come do that until we actually have an engine installed and functional, because that is like one of the biggest prerequisites to actually being eligible for insurance. So there's this order of operations that does make me a little nervous of like, I hope we can pull this off. And I think with adequate planning and really realistic timeframes, we should be able to.
Yeah, we will work hard at it.
Yeah.
Because it is exciting, but there sure is lots to do to get there. Yeah. Okay, but in the meantime, it's also about enjoying life, right? So it's a balance that we're always having to strike. We're going to focus on the boat, but I'm also not going to drive myself insane over this, and not going to drive myself to burnout. And we'll keep seeing the boat become beautiful. We'll keep seeing it get closer to the water. And we'll continue to really try to inject this project with love and excitement and energy rather than become downtrodden by it. That's the big goal. Totally. So yay. More projects and more sailing coming up, and more music.
Yeah. All right. So there's the plans.
That's an update from us. Yep. So back to work.
Back to work. Bye.
Bye.